I think the bigger thing that we should focus on with AI is this move towards it being more prescriptive. And what I mean by that is right now we're in a place where data says, okay, this is a trend that is going on in your organization. The next step that we want to get to is, okay, what do we do about it?
Hey, welcome to Capterra's Guest Network series, where we talk to leading business influencers about how to work smarter by using the right software. I'm Rachel Taylor. Today, we'll examine the most important tech trends in human resources and how AI is driving them. Artificial intelligence in HR software comes with great opportunities, but also poses a number of challenges. How do you tackle those? To talk about that, Brian Westfall is joining us. Brian has written extensively about HR tech over the last 10 years. His research has been published in media such as The Washington Post and Bloomberg. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Rachel. Thanks for having me.
So, Brian, Capterra's recent HR survey shows that training and upskilling of employees is mentioned as the most important HR challenge, closely followed by attracting skilled professionals. So, what do you think is the main reason that companies are prioritizing training and upskilling over simply attracting new talent?
It really comes down to cost, right? When interest rates were lower, when the economy was a little better, I think a lot of companies went on a hiring spree. But now that the economy is looking a little more shaky, interest rates are higher, you see a lot of companies moving that budget from hiring more people towards upskilling because that is going to be more cost effective in the long run.
Why do you think so many companies find training and upskilling their employees so difficult?
I mean, there's a number of reasons why training and upskilling is so difficult. For one thing, you have a bunch of different employees with very different learning preferences, right? So you're going to have some employees that want that instructor-led classroom type environment. You're going to have some employees that want more self-paced training. Maybe they want to watch videos, read articles, listen to podcasts. So how do you deliver training at scale to all these people that have different learning preferences based on their needs? That's a big challenge. Another challenge is just identifying where to focus your training content. Identifying skills gaps in an organization is really, really hard. And you have to do that work in order to understand where to focus your efforts with your training and learning programs.
Everyone's talking about AI these days. So, Brian, how do you see it transforming the more traditional training and reskilling processes?
Yeah, I think AI can really help companies understand those skills gaps a little bit better. Not everyone in an HR department or in an L&D team really knows how to work with data all that much. So I think AI really helps them identify those gaps, gives recommendations on where they can focus their efforts. And then AI really helps with just scaling that content, right? In terms of providing templates, branding, different formats. It just helps, get training courses off the ground and helps them scale it efficiently.
I can see how AI can help with learning opportunities and create content, but what about personalization? Every employee is different, right? And therefore has individual needs and learning styles. So how can AI-driven learning management systems personalize their learning experiences?
Yeah, I think AI can help on the learner side in two ways. One is really having that kind of AI agent interaction where instead of scrolling through a giant training course library and you have no idea what you're looking for, you just tell an AI, hey, I'm looking for content on this aspect, or I'm looking to improve this skill. And AI will actually recommend courses based on what that person says. So it's a more curated experience from a discovery aspect. And then AI can help with those learning paths as people work their way through content, right? Because traditionally those paths are very rigid. For a given subject, you say, okay, every employee is going to do course A, then course B, then course C, then course D. But AI can interject and notice, hey, oh, this person's really struggling with this course. Instead of sending them on to the next one in the path, Why don't we have them dive deeper on this subject with this course instead? So those are two ways that AI can really, based on not only learning preferences, but also just how they're absorbing the material, can really help people along.
Yeah, you spoke a lot about employee retention. But what about hiring? So, what would you say were the biggest challenges companies face when it comes to attracting and evaluating and hiring skilled professionals?
Yeah, I mean, there are challenges up and down the recruiting process, right? First, you got to have that employer value proposition, which is basically, why should you work for us? And that is going to be different for every worker, right? Because workers are looking for different things in different jobs. So, how do you come up with that employer value proposition that is really going to speak to a lot of different kinds of employees? Then, once those job seekers come in, you need to provide a seamless candidate experience, right? We're seeing all sorts of complaints from people that say, I haven't heard from a recruiter in 2 weeks. I've been through 6 interviews already. Why haven't they hired me? So it's a balance between how do we quickly and efficiently find the right person for this job and fill that seat? But also, you really need to be careful and you need to be personable, and you need to interact with these job seekers to make sure that they're not going to drop out of your recruiting pipeline. So it is a balance up and down the entire process.
Yeah, many people are completely ghosted by recruiters.
Yeah, no, we're seeing that all over, right? Or even posting ghosting jobs. They're not actually hiring for someone, but they just want to fill their candidate pool so when they're hiring later. It's those kinds of practices that like seems good in the short term, but then they're really going to bite you in the long run.
Yeah. And go back to our buzzword, how do you think AI can help to improve the recruitment process?
Yeah, AI can help in a number of ways. I think AI in recruiting shows the most promise right now in terms of all the different HR functions. Because for one thing, AI can really step in on those kind of first initial routine stages of recruitment. So I'm thinking things like that screening interview. That first interview where you're just getting basic details about, this job seeker's job history and kind of what they're looking for. We're seeing a number of AI chatbots jump in and take over that stage for a human recruiter so that they can focus on more tailored efforts down the pipeline. I think AI can also help again with surfacing those like great candidates within a stack of applications. You tell the AI, hey, here's what the kind of candidates that we're looking for, maybe the kind of skills, the kind of background, the kind of work experience you're looking for, and it'll find those applications for you to move them on to the next stage.
Yeah. Also, one of the main obstacles when adopting AI features in HR software is ensuring that employees have the right skills to use it. So, Brian, how can companies assess the current AI skill levels of their staff to identify gaps in training?
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's two ways you can go about it. One is just doing kind of like a skills assessment, right? So it's at like a team level, getting everyone together and just having a conversation and saying, how much do you use AI in your job? What do you use it for? What are you familiar with? Hey, does anyone here use AI a lot? Maybe you can show us some things. It's like getting down into that team level and just having a conversation can really kick off a lot of things. And then at a higher level, I would say, surveys are going to be really beneficial here just to get a temperature on your entire organization in terms of do we have, any basic familiarity with AI here? What are people using it in their job for the most? What concerns do they have about AI? And then you can tailor your training programs based off of that feedback.
What do you think are the most effective types of training programs or resources to help upskill people that work with AI and HR software?
I mean, that's a great question. I think because AI is so different from system to system within HR software, I would say talk to your vendor. Your vendor is going to know how their AI works in any given system better than anyone else. So whether it's going back to them, maybe they can lead some like instructor-led trainings for your organization. Maybe they have some articles or some resources that they've created in-house that you can leverage for your own trainings. Always go back to the vendor. They're going to know how their AI works more than anyone.
Well, among AI users, one of the top concerns about AI and HR software is the quality of the data. So, what measures can companies take to ensure that they have high quality data for AI to use?
Yeah, I would look at this from two lenses. You got to look at it from an historical lens, and then you got to look at it from what's going to happen moving forward. So from an historical lens, you just got to do like a intensive data audit, look at all of the data in your HR system and make sure it lines up with expectations, right? Maybe you'll find that some fields haven't been filled out. You'll find that some fields are being used for things they shouldn't be used for. So just doing a deep audit is going to get you to a good place from a historical perspective. But that's not going to help if your managers, your other users keep entering data incorrectly moving forward, right? So it's also process driven. It's also talking to your users and saying, hey, for this process, the data needs to go in this place in this way. For this process, the data needs to go in this place in this way. So that ensures that you have consistency moving forward so that AI has a strong foundation to work off of.
Well, the fact that AI enhances the productivity and efficiency of HR operations is a given, right? But what impact does it really have on HR staff?
I think when it comes to HR staff, it's AI is taking over kind of those routine, repetitive tasks that happen in HR. And the more that that happens, that frees up those workers to really focus more on those strategic needs and those strategic priorities for the organization. I think that's the biggest benefit with AI, right? The more that AI can take over kind of those road tasks so that departments can focus on those big goals that they have for the year for their organization, the better.
Like give them more time to work on things that matter.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever the big priorities are for that organization from an employee perspective, like the more hands on deck you can have towards that instead of really, kind of data driven process things, the better.
Going back to the data again. So I understand that AI driven HR software can give companies better insights into their data. But how does it work exactly?
Yeah, I think within HR departments, you will not always find the most, you won't find people that are used to working with data all that much. So what AI does is really lower the barrier to entry to understanding your data, right? It's not looking at a huge database and you have to do some SQL or, some sort of thing where you would normally need like a data scientist, right? AI is going to lower that barrier and actually look at the data for you and surface those insights, surface those big trends that you're looking for so that you can then act on them. I think that's the biggest benefit for AI from a data perspective is just lowering the barrier to entry so that even folks that aren't used to working with data can understand what's going on in their organization.
How do you envision the future of AI in HR software? Like what new capabilities or benefits might emerge as this tech evolves?
Yeah, I think a lot of focus there is on kind of like the chatbot side, right? And like those getting more, sophisticated and more realistic. But honestly, I think the bigger thing that we should focus on with AI is this move towards it being more prescriptive. And what I mean by that is right now we're in a place where data says, okay, this is a trend that is going on in your organization. The next step that we want to get to is, okay, what do we do about it? And I think that's going to be the next big step with AI. The more that it can actually recommend next actions based on those trends, the faster that organizations can move to act and fix the problems that are happening in the organization. So this move to prescriptive with AI is really the thing that we should be looking out for.
Thanks so much for your insights, Brian. And thank you for watching. You can check out more of these interviews on our YouTube channel, so please like and subscribe. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and X. See you next time.